Hello! Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and thank you so much for being here. As you can tell by the title, today I wanted to talk about 9 sustainability-centric books that I personally recommend that you read. This is something that I am very passionate about, and I thought it would be very interesting to mesh the two types of passions, if you will, into one video for you today. I'm filming this on April 20th, so it's something that is also very centric in life with Earth Day and Earth Month happening soon. Earth Day is a global movement that occurs on April 22nd every single year. It's an opportunity for folks like you, like me, to get involved and make sure that we're working for a better planet. So this is something that I work very passionately about. I am an environmental engineer in my day job, so this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. So I, of course, with my other passion, enjoy reading about it as well. So I've got 9 books here. Let's hold them up for you. 9 books here that I personally recommend that you read if you are interested in learning more about sustainability and or if you are interested in furthering your sustainability path. Okay, so we're just going to jump right into it. The first book that I recommend is Sustainability: A History by Jeremy L. Caradonna. This book talks about the origins of the word sustainability, how it became used prevalently in our society, and what the term sustainability means as we are going towards the future. It's a wonderful read that lays out the groundwork in terms of sustainability, the movement, and how we can learn from them in the future. I highly recommend this as your first read because, once again, it talks about what sustainability means and where we can go from here. The second book that I recommend is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This book reflects on Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer's life as an Indigenous woman and scientist. It circles the celebration of our relationship with the earth and world as human beings, while touching on the fact that we can only understand everything the world offers if we also understand the experiences and voices of other beings. This is something that I recommend you read if you are interested in reading about a culture different to your own, or if you identify as an Indigenous person. This is a very impactful read as climate change disproportionately affects marginalized communities. Highly recommend as number 2. Book number 3 that I recommend is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. Now, Silent Spring is one of those books that I personally read in college, and honestly, it was one of the first times that I really understood the effects that climate change had on the world. Silent Spring is an environmental science book, and it talks about and documents the adverse effects that environmental and climate change has on ecosystems that we are working towards. It primarily talks about the use of pesticides and when this Rachel Carson actually experiences a silent spring. This is the reason that I personally refuse to put any chemicals down in my backyard, despite the fact that it would help kill, quote unquote, those weeds that I am, trying to get rid of. This is one of the first, to my knowledge, books written on the topic. It was first written in 1962 and was actually instrumental in a lot of laws being passed. Silent Spring was written and publicized and was widely popular around the first Earth Day in 1970 and actually caused an outcry of the environmental laws that were in place at the time. You are to label any book as environmental classics. In my opinion, this is one of them and why I recommend you read it. The next book that I recommend is All We Can Save edited by Anya Elizabeth Johnson and Katharine K. Wilkinson. This is Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis. This is an amazing book from the perspective of diverse women leading the fight against climate change around the US. This is one of the most important pieces of sustainability in my opinion because it acknowledges that climate change disproportionately affects people of color and people living in marginalized communities. So I highly recommend it. Rolling Stone says a feast of ideas and perspectives, setting a big table for the climate movement, declaring all are welcome. So highly recommend this if you are interested. The next book that I have on the list is Imagining the Future of Climate Change by Shelley Streeby, World Making Through Science Fiction and Activism. This book takes a look at intersections between climate fiction and activism and acknowledgement that as a public awareness of climate change has grown, so has the popularity of works of climate fiction that connect science with activism. This one is a short read, but may only interest those who are specializing in the climate change movement, as well as those who are interested in the history and tools to create our future. However, it is an important read nonetheless. Next up on the list is The Story of Steph by Annie Leonard. They are the founder of the Story of Steph project. So on the title, it titles the book as The Impact of Overconsumption on the Planet, Our Communities, and Our Health, and How We Can Make It Better. This book is especially for my fellow engineers who enjoy a deep dive into looking at processes, manufacturing, and systems. However, it is an important conversation on steps you can take as an individual consumer to tackle the economic justice and sustainability. So if you're interested in stuff and systems and how you personally can make an impact, I highly recommend The Story of Steph. Next up on my list is This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein, Capitalism versus the Climate. This book confronts the challenges that the 21st century capitalism adds to the climate change movement. It talks through the facts that climate change is often posed as liberal propaganda and that denying climate change is profitable. In this book, Naomi investigates the consequences that capitalism is having on the world at large. We must all become environmentalists, and this is an important read to showcase this. Second to last on my list is A Terrible Thing to Waste by Harriet A. Washington, Environmental Racism and Its Assault on the American Mind. This book takes a deep dive into environmental racism and other institutional factors that relegate marginalized communities to living and working near sites of toxic waste, pollution, and insufficient sanitation services. During this book, Harriet Washington investigates heavy metals, neurotoxins, deficient prenatal care, and bad nutrition to explain why communities of color are disproportionately affected and what can be done to remedy this devastating problem. I personally read this with the foreword that is included and talked about the pandemic, and I believe it sparks very important and eye-opening conversations. This is one of the books that I personally recommend that you read with an audiobook helping you. It talks a lot about toxins and specific levels, so it's one of those things that I recommend that you read with a little help. Last but not least, I have The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by Dan Egan. This is one of the ones that I actually thrifted, so it unfortunately does not have the dust jacket on it, but I will pop up what the book looks like with the dust jacket on. The Death and Life of the Great Lakes is reporter Dan Egan's portrait of an ecological catastrophe happening right before our eyes, blending the epic story of the lakes with an examination of the perils they face and ways we can restore and preserve them for generations to come. As someone who lives next to Lake Michigan, that is part of the Great Lakes, the largest freshwater source in the world, the fear that this may become real, become scarcer, is a real fear that I experience on a daily basis. An incredible read on how science and history have wrought change on the once cleanest, freshest bodies of water in the planet. Highly recommend, especially if you have ever heard of the water wars that are coming. Well, that concludes our 9 sustainability books that I personally recommend that you read. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you are interested in reading any of these. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.